Okay, so you just got done installing Linux for the first time, or Ubuntu Linux, and you want to be familiar with it, or what, at least to know your way around and how to do the various things. I say the main thing to keep in mind is you want to treat Linux like it's Linux and not like it's Windows and not like it's Mac. And you're going to do things that will be intuitive, like the idea of changing this background wallpaper. Right click. Similar in Windows, you right click on the desktop and you have an option to change the background, and you have it here in Linux as well, or at least in Ubuntu. Cool thing about this, it has you don't have the apply option so much on this menu here, and if you pick a different picture, it changes it instantly. So you can test to see kind of what it looks like and cycle through the different pictures you have and so on and so forth. Cool thing about this is when you change the picture, it changes the color of this bar on the left. So if it's something dark, it changes it to appropriate colors. I think that's just a cool feature. Another interesting twist than the other operating systems, if you're used to it, over here is where you normally find the minimize and maximize buttons and the close buttons. And instead, in Ubuntu, they're on the left. So the minimize button is just the line, and then there would be a box there if it was the maximize option. Also, when you minimize a window, it doesn't go down here on the desktop, it goes here on this action bar on the left. And a cool feature is there will be a white arrow beside the icon to indicate that you have something already open in that. If you have multiple somethings, you have this little thin arrow. So back to here, the appearance options. So we'll just close this, and if you notice, the little arrow and the icon disappeared. We'll bring it back up to show you another feature. Is there's a white indicator arrow on the right side showing you which window currently has the focus. So if you had an internet browser open, again, which one has the focus has a white arrow beside the one that's currently on the focus. And this is important only for the menu options that appear at the top, because they change specifically to the window that is opened. We just close a couple of these. We'll go up to here, noticing how you turn your computer off or log off. This will be probably one of the most first things, or the most important things you're going to need to know, is how do you shut your computer down? How do you how do you get out of your computer? You don't just turn the power button off. That's always a bad idea in general. In Windows, it was a little start button down in the bottom right corner. In Ubuntu, at least in Ubuntu 12.04, it's up here in the right. This little star-shaped icon, you click on that and you have all these little options. You can either shut down, log out, lock screen, and other options that really kind of relate to that thing. System control is really what it's suggesting here. The current user, whoever's on there in different accounts, you can switch between accounts quickly, or you can view or modify your accounts from here. Your time and date appears here. I'm just mousing over them, and as I had already clicked on it once, it changes the menu for the appropriate icon. Date and time, if it was incorrect, you can click that option there, and then you can specify, beyond that, anywhere in the nation you are, time and date, and this gets into really drilling down to the specifics of what you want to change. Your sound option, it's also located, so this is similar to the taskbar in Windows, and instead of it being on the bottom, it's on the top. There's also no start button here, which is cool, I think, because it's Linux, it's not Windows, it's its own thing. Sound options, this is a cool feature. Rhythmbox comes default as your MP3 player. So if you hit play, which I'm not going to go into all these little applications, just going to show you some of the features. If I was to hit play, it would start playing whatever current playlist or song was loaded up. When you first install, you're probably not going to have anything in there. Again, sound, the sound bar for controlling how the sound sounds and if things are bad or if things are good. Bad and good don't really apply here, but internet connection, this would be like if you had a wireless connection or a wired connection. This is where you would handle a lot of those. And there's another way to get to this. It's not just this icon. You can specify a mail program, an email program to connect to your Ubuntu. If you're used to like Outlook and Windows, similar to that. And then this is just the screen capture program recording. There's a file manager set up here. These are a few little things you can connect to a server. So that would be like an FTP server you could connect to. Edit would be, move, copy, paste. These are things that really just pertain to the desktop and what's open right now, which is nothing. View, you can show hidden files, desktop by name, different options. I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just getting you familiar with what you see when you first install. Next, you have the trash can, and I'm going to empty that. In Windows, you have the the recycling bin. In Ubuntu, you have a trash can. You can click on it once, and it opens up, shows you the contents of what's inside there. Otherwise, you can right-click and just hit empty trash. Gives you the confirmation box. Empty it. It's permanently deleted. There's no sound effect installed with that. It's okay. Okay, so we're going to look at the, I refer to it as the action bar. It probably has a name. Maybe it's the Unity bar, whatever, launcher bar. Call it whatever you want. It's the bar on the left. So there's a few icons that come standard here that come pre-set up. I've gotten rid of the ones I don't use regularly. And to get rid of an icon, you simply right-click on it and hit Unlock from Launcher. So we could do it with the terminal, for example. I added it here. We unlock from terminal. Now it's just gone, and it doesn't. The program doesn't disappear. It's not uninstalled from the computer. It's just not on this launcher bar. Same thing with this. I could do this. This is the screencaster thing. That's actually the program I'm using right now, and we can get rid of that. Get rid of all these if we wanted. But for now, we're not going to. We'll go over a few of the basics. This one, the workspace switcher. You click on that, and it gives you these 4 little options. So let's say we had something open in an internet browser. Let's just say it was Google or something. And we click on this browser, and then we got our internet going here. And then you click over here, and you can see there's an orange bar. It changes, basically saying you're selecting this. If you click it twice, it goes there, and you got a fresh new desktop. Something completely new, completely different. And let's say you wanted to browse the home folder. You wanted to, start looking for files or whatever. So let's say you got that open, and say you wanted to deal with some music, and so you bring that open, and I probably should have had these already playing. And let's say you have your music player, and that's open, and so then you got your desktop, and it's pretty full, and then you just want a blank desktop. You don't want to see all that other stuff. Or you want to actually say, okay, well, I want to get back to my web browsing. And you go here and you do and look for dog breeds maybe. Do that, and you can switch. You're not limited to just one space, for example, where you would have all of these windows kind of competing for the same space. Makes it a little bit easier, I think. If you were working on one thing and you want to switch your music, you can see that. And yeah, you don't have to leave them open. You can minimize them or close them. You don't have to have every you don't have to use every open desktop space. It's just for the purpose of this video. So, it's a cool little feature. You can switch between desktops and have multiple options open. Ubuntu Software Center. If you mouse over these, it tells you what that icon is, or the program is. So if you mouse over them, it tells you what it is, what it's called. The Ubuntu Software Center, and you're going to use this a lot when you want to add software to your desktop. Now, if you're a parent, or if you want to restrict access to it, you might not want to have this just out and about so people can see it. Somebody who's not familiar with Linux won't really know what's in it, and they won't know where to find this specific program. So if you click on it, it comes up standard as, let's see here. This is where it'll kind of default to. And depending on if it's a newer version of Ubuntu, it might look a little different, but for the most part it's this. And on the left here you have options. I'm just using the mouse on the wheel to scroll up and down. You have options of different pieces of software. Apparently in this software collection there are 41,000 pieces of software or items that you can use, and some are free, as you can see, free on a lot of these, and some you have to pay for. Sadly, they're all free, but that's not how it is. There's often cases where you have software you have to pay for. Here, for example, this would be where the prices of these if you were going to buy them. So, how you want to think of this is a search engine for software. So, if you like the game Checkers, you type in Checkers, and then whatever version of Checkers might come up here. this one here, or these ones. And how you install software, you can click on it, and you click on more info to look at it or to find out about what the game or software does. And it goes to the next one. This one says what this is. It says a little bit about it. Might have some screenshots over here that you can view. And it might have some either additional suggestions of software that are similar to that, but it's going to tell about the software, about it. It might have recommendations and so on and so forth. So then installing, you click install. We already have it installed here. Let's look at something different maybe. I don't know. We'll try image. So we would do this image viewer, and you could just directly install it. You wouldn't have to view the information about it. So you click install, and then it's going to ask for your administrator password. This is where Linux is secure, in that you can't install something without providing a password first. So if you are the administrator and somebody else uses your computer, you don't really have to worry about them removing programs that you put on there. Unless they know the password, they can't. So then you would simply type it in, authenticate, and then it'll start indicating over here how much is left for being installed. And then from there it should, normally by default it pops an icon over here just letting you know that hey, you installed it. Otherwise, if it doesn't, image viewer, you click on this dash home. Now if you have a Windows keyboard, you can click the Windows key. It might say start over it, and you click that and it opens this up. This is the way you kind of find software. Things that are installed on your computer, videos, whatever it is, anything. So that new program we just installed, image viewer, I believe it's this one. This icon looks to be the same, and this would be it. And it also puts a icon here letting you know that it's running. And that's pretty much how you install software from the Ubuntu Software Center. Now there are different ways to install software. I'm not going to go into all of it because Linux is vast. It's created by probably hundreds of thousands of people, and there's so much to it that you really want to just explore at your own pace. You don't want to try to get, one, overwhelmed by it. Two, you don't want to get lost in what you're doing. You want to be comfortable with it and move at your own pace, understanding the different features when you want to understand them. It's always there. It'll always be available to you. It's always going to have an option there that you can go forward with what you understand about Ubuntu. Now we've covered how to install software with the Ubuntu Software Center, and I'm not going to go into all the details of how you install software. You know, that's something you can research later. The main thing is getting familiar with the desktop, getting comfortable with how you find programs that you installed or various programs to do the common tasks that you have. And this brings me to the dash home icon. So I might have mentioned this earlier, but if you press the start button on your keyboard, or the window key it's called, it brings it up by default. Also, if you click on the button, it brings it up, and it leaves whatever was the last thing you searched for in here, at least for while the computer's been on. So let's say you wanted to install, or you wanted to search for, you know, your program that does, or the settings. I mean, this is a good example. As soon as you start typing, it starts searching for things that correspond to that, whether it's files or programs or videos or anything. And so this is another window that you're going to want to make yourself familiar with, because it's going to allow you to set up different things, whether it's you have your video going to a TV and you're using a display that needs certain types of drivers, like a different video card or a high-end video card. You'll look for probably additional drivers. Now Linux or Ubuntu will offer its suggestions for video files or drivers right off the bat, so you don't really have to worry about a lot of it. But if you find that there's something not working, you'll probably want to look into this option here for hardware. When you go to add a printer, it's just simply click on printing, and then now these are the printers that I already have installed on here, but you would simply click add, and then you would start searching for if it was a network printer, or it would try to look for the printer that's connected as well. You can also research, like I said, you could do a Google search for whatever it is. If it's a Hewlett-Packard printer, you would put Linux at the end of that, Or you could put Ubuntu and then the version that you have. And this is going to really narrow your search down. And this is kind of the key to it. When you run into something you don't understand, either you can look in here for it in the software center, because there might be a program that would aid in that confusion, or you simply do a Google search for whatever it is that you're looking for. But be sure to include Linux or Ubuntu or whatever version you're using in the search. See, now I could do Ubuntu 12.0, and that'll bring in a certain criteria. And I could also do a Linux search, and it won't necessarily be aimed at Ubuntu, but it'll be Linux, and at the back end of everything, we're still using Linux. That's something to keep in mind. So if you have a CD-ROM, I wouldn't even begin to know what CD-ROMs would be. Linux, and then you would search for that. And you would have whatever it is, or maybe it's a hard drive, a Western Digital hard drive. And then you would search for that. So it's pretty simple in that regard. Sound, pretty basic, you know, it just has your similar options. Your input would be your microphone. Sound effects, you can specify different things, applications, so on and so forth. The biggest thing to remember is play with it. Get familiar with where things are located. This brings you to two more features that I want to point out. So we're in the dash home. We're going to look for, let's say we have chess. We want to add chess to this action bar on the left. We just simply grab onto it with the left mouse button, drag it over, and we can then place it anywhere we want in this space, and then it's there. And then we press escape, and it's there, and then we can click on it, and it brings it up, and we have it for future playing. Any piece of software we want in here can be done. Also, let's say we want a movie player, and we want to bring it to the desktop. Well, now we have a copy of movie player. And it doesn't move the entire program. It adds an icon to the desktop so that you can simply access it by double-clicking it. And that's it. You know, we could go into other options, but I think you should play with it. I think you should... Oh, here's another feature. If you notice, when you first installed it, I got different icons here. I removed them by right-clicking on it and click Unlock from Launcher. And it's gone. It's not uninstalled, it's just, it's hidden. So if I want to add it again, here it is again. Or we do another search. Maybe it wasn't checkers, we want to do a reversey. So then we add that as well. You can add as many as you want. You're not limited to. Let's say we wanted a quick little downloads folder. Play with it. Get familiar with it. It's your computer, and the cool thing about Linux is it allows it to be your experience. You can customize all the things you want. You're not limited to, like in Windows, you're locked into a lot of things, but in Linux, you have a lot of flexibility. You know, in Mac, I don't use Mac. I haven't used Mac too much, so there might be that same flexibility, but we're talking about Linux, and the cool thing about this, among many, is it's free. See, I have this installed, and I don't have to worry about ever paying for it. I don't have to worry about ever putting a serial number in or any of that nonsense, because it's free. It's open source. It's there at my disposal. One last thing is the Update Manager. Now, this is something you'll want to run every other day. You know, maybe once a week. I normally just leave this, and it'll pop up if I have updates required. This is a very important step. If nothing else, if you take nothing else from these videos, be sure to always update whatever updates are available. When I first installed, there was over 300 and some updates available. The reality is, let it do its thing. Click Install Updates. You have to put a password in. Well, I guess I don't, because I've been using things that I've actually been installing recently. Normally, by default, when you click Update, you probably have to put a password in right away. And it's saying that you're the one that should be using this computer, and you're the one that's the administrator of it. So it's okay to do that. So other than that, I believe I covered the basics, the challenges that I had when I first started using this. Key things to remember: we want to log off or shut down your computer. It's in this top right corner always. Finding programs that are installed is the dash button to type in If Fire was on here, hey, there you go, Firefox. And that is another thing. As that comes as default, Firefox is one of those default web browsers that's here. I actually put on Chromium. I like it better. So like if I wanted to get rid of it, I could just unlock from the browser, but I unlocked Firefox because I don't use that as much. But it's there if I need it, and the updates are finished, which is cool. After you install updates, sometimes this icon up here will be red, and it'll say updates need to restart, or you need to restart your computer because of the updates, and it's important to do. So if you want to check for updates, you can either do it here, updates available, or here by typing in update. Beyond that, that's pretty much it.